Hello, it's Richard Songbird, and in this episode, we are going to make a unipig sculpture out of a fabric softener bottle. So when I took a look at this fabric softener, I was taking out the recycling the other day, and I saw a couple items in the laundry room that were on the floor that I knew I needed to take out. And this one caught my eye because I thought, I wonder, before I throw this out, is there something that I could do with this using Cottonstone? And so I had this idea to go ahead and when I turned it around and looked at it, I had this idea. Oh wow, that kind of looks like a pig to me. This isn't showing up very well, but I was trying to make some eyes there so that you can see their picture, their eyes in the middle of this, and this is a snout. And I thought, oh, wow, before I throw this away, maybe this could be a mold or a form that I could use to create a Cottonstone sculpture. I'm always on the lookout for ways to use inexpensive materials, recycled materials, things that you probably have lying around your house. I was looking for ways to create Cottonstone works or concrescences using these recycled materials, because I want you to have access to inexpensive ingredients that you can use to make fun crafts for your own enjoyment, or to share with family and friends, or even for your own small business. And we all know that in this economy, anytime we can get a break, we'll take it. And having a mold that's practically free compared to, if you paid for a mold for a flying pig sculpture of this size, you'd probably pay $300 or $400 for something like this. But with the Cottonstone technique that I'm going to demonstrate in this live stream, you can do this for virtually free. All it takes is, here are the ingredients for the mold, the form that we're going to use. A fabric softener bottle that looks like this. I also have a soup can, and that's because this snout does not look big enough to me. So I'm going to put this I'm going to Cottonstone this snout onto the front of the pig to use instead of the one, the cap that the bottle came with. What else do I have here? This is the handle for a plunger that's never been used. This is a plunger I got at the dollar store. So it should be called the $1.25 store now. So this was $1.25, and I don't need the plunger part of it for this project. So here's the handle. And then this is going to be, hi Tommy. This is going to be hi baby. You can be here now, but when I start Cottonstone crafting, you can't be here because you'll get all cementy, okay? You can be here for now. I was thinking that this can go into the bottle like this, and this will, of course, form the unipig's horn. So the unipig will look like this in profile. This is what the unipig will look like in profile. But with Cottonstone over this mold. A few other things that I have here for this concrescence are these wings / fat rolls. Okay, this is to make it a little bulkier. This is way too skinny for a pig, right? So these are like fat rolls here. And then this is the butt. This is the butt. And then I also have these old pieces of foam. This is a piece of foam that I've wrapped in plastic. If you, when you're doing Cottonstone work and you have foam, it's best to wrap it in plastic. Otherwise, it will stick to the fabric that gets cement on it, or it will get cement on it and just doesn't hold up as well. But this was free because a neighbor was getting rid of the foam that they used in their camp trailer for a mattress cover, and So I said, I'll take that off your hands. So this is going to be the back of our pig. And then I have these because I want to have eye sockets, but this is too big. So I have a plan here to make the eyes just kind of fill in this space right here. So that's why I have these little pieces of foam that I've also wrapped in plastic. So to get started here, the first step we're going to take is we need to tape the wings / fat rolls onto the side of our form here. And I'm thinking that we're going to, a lot of times I try to reuse materials as much as possible. But in this case, to make this project again, I will reuse the bottle. I'll reuse the horn. I can reuse the can and these pieces of foam. But I think we're going to have to sacrifice the fat rolls. But I have lots of these. You know, when you get a package from Amazon or somewhere else, these often come with it to help protect your package. So they're easy to come by, and you'll see when we demold this work. It won't be today. It'll be tomorrow morning when I do this. When I demold it, I'm going to need to pop these to get them out of here. So I'm just kind of adjusting these so that the fat rolls / wings are relatively even. We can do some adjustments later on when we get going and dunk this into the primordial soup swamp. Can do more adjustments, but now I'm going to add the butt onto it here. I have not done a project as complex as this pig before, this unipig. So this is new territory for me, but I'm excited to see how it turns out. See, it's looking unipig-like, right? So far, looks pretty unipig-like. In form, at least. I can see it. And as far as these ones go, I don't think I need to tape these ones on. I'm going to tape them closed because this other plastic keeps getting in the way. The plastic gets folded up and it kind of gets in the way, so I'm just going to tape them closed. I think I wanted the smaller one on top, larger one on the bottom. Okay, so showing you what that looks like. So the eye sockets, hopefully these will become eye sockets. I have a clamp here and I'm going to be placing right here when we get to a certain part. Once the fabric is applied, this clamp will go on there to help define the eye sockets. Last piece we have to do is just put this little back hump on. Okay. All right. And we are ready to go. Oh, wait a minute. I wanted to affix this can to the front as well. We need to affix the can because it will come loose and it will cause problems if we don't tape it on to here. But I hope you're getting a glimpse of just how inexpensive it can be to work with Cottonstone. There's so many, and then when you get started with it, there's just endless opportunities to find inexpensive materials for forms. And that's one of the reasons that I love this art form so much is, you know, for this really didn't cost anything except for the $1.25 that I spent on this, um, that I spent on the plunger. Sorry, Tom. Plunger handle. But of course, I can also use the plunger later on if I need to. So that's not a waste. So I'm $1.25 in so far. And then you'll find that the Cottonstone powder is really inexpensive considering how many projects you can do with each order that you make. And I'm now putting together like a form that you can submit to show that you're interested in the Cottonstone powder, the magical Cottonstone powder. I am going to be selling it, and you can buy it and do your own projects like this. I hope you'll give it a try. Okay, I've got a little bit more tidying or taping here to do. Oh, and feeling how loose that horn is, I want to make sure that horn is locked in place before we get started as well. Because once we get the soup going here, the Cottonstone soup, the Cottonstone soup it's going to be chaos because it's wet and it's murky. And so I want to have things kind of locked in place as much as I can get them, knowing that things will shift and change and evolve as we go, and that's to be expected, and we can't control all of the circumstances. But to the degree possible, I want to minimize the surprises. And I had said earlier that I wasn't going to lock these in place, but now I'm thinking maybe I should, my discussion, my admonition to you about how things can get chaotic in the soup, the primordial soup, led me to just think, okay, well, I'll just go ahead and take away a factor that could lead to an unwanted surprise. And I'll just tape these in place, okay? So that's what I'm doing here. I'm taping these eye sockets in place. Oh, looks like I lost the adhesive section there. So I'm just going to do this. And then let's stand back and take a look at it. Okay. I think that's okay. I think we can live with that. Okay, one of the things that I'll note before we get started is that when you're applying the Cottonstone, the cloth, you will not want to do anything. You will not want to put any fabric through this hole like that, because if that happens, when we go to try to pull the mold out of the backside, which is what we're going to do, we're going to make a slit here in this fabric tomorrow. It's going to have like, have you heard of the expression, tear one a new asshole? We're going to tear a new asshole out of this poor pig and remove all of the innards, all of the form tomorrow morning. And so when we do that, rip the new asshole and try to pull this form, all of this material will come out of the form, and what we'll be left with is a Cottonstone work, and then we'll seal it up. But if we were to have any fabric that goes through there, of course, when we go to try to pull this out, it will get stuck. So that's why we need to be careful about not painting ourselves into a corner, so to speak. We want to make sure that there's an exit strategy for all of the material that we put into the Cottonstone work, and then we'll be in good shape. Okay, so here's what it looks like. I'm making sure that you can get a good view from the front camera. It kind of looks like an elephant right now. I'm hoping that it will become more pig-like, more unipig-like as we go along. But this is what it kind of looks like, a leaf blower too, right? I don't know. We'll see. This could be a fail. Lord knows I've failed a lot of times making cottonstone works, but to me, this feels like it's it. This feels like there's a lot of potential here to create a really adorable pig sculpture. One last thing before we get started with making the swamp is that we want to make sure the tip of this is sealed. Kind of like the idea of it coming to something of a point. I don't know if this will become visible in the formation process, but the other thing is we want to make the feet. The feet will be glued on later, and I like the idea of the pig is going to be a hanging sculpture. So she'll have I'm going to drill a hole in the top and put a washer on the inside so that she can hang from a ceiling, like an outdoor porch or a ceiling or something like that. And then she's going to have 4 little feet that dangle like this, like she's flying. And I love these. This is a toilet paper roll that I've just folded like this. So as part of our process here, when we're making, when we have the swamp going, we're just going to go ahead and make 4 of these legs that are pretty much identical, and they're meant to signify her being in motion and flying. And so what I'm doing for these is just collapsing these pieces of cardboard, these toilet paper rolls. I'm just collapsing them down, and then about 1/3 of the way up, I'm making this bend, and what that will these will become the legs, and they'll be hollow once I remove the cardboard. And I'll show you the process for removing the cardboard. What you have to do is just basically soak them in water after they've cured, and then the cardboard will break up and you can remove it. So here are the 4 legs for our unipig. And I think her name is like Donna or Dawnette, or something along those lines. Dawnita, kind of like Dawnita. Oh, and ears. Last thing was ears. And I was going to lay those out in a way that, well, I think what we could do is maybe use this. No, I'm going to grab something else for that. I'm going to grab, I have this, yeah, perfect, okay. I have this other, this is like a paper towel roll. And I'm going to wrap this in plastic because, and it doesn't need to be anything formal, because this is just a holder for the ears. The idea that I had for the ears was to, I'm going to lay some fabric that's cut in the shape of the ears on here to cure, because I like the idea of the pig's ears sort of flopping down. And so this will be a way to get the material to lay and flop down like that. And then once they're cured, we will glue those on. So the horn of our unipig is integrated. It's an integrated horn. it will be part of the body of the work. And the pieces that will be glued on later are the 4 legs and the 2 ears. Okay, so I think the next step is to mask up and to build our primordial soup. Yeah, so it's really important, like I always say, to exercise safety when it comes to cement, working with cement powder. And so we want to mask up, but you only have to wear a mask during the period when you're mixing the water with the cement. Once it's fully incorporated, you can take off the mask. And sometimes I forget to do that, and then I'm like, oh, why am I having trouble breathing? Or, you know, why is it so hard to get oxygen right now? So here, this is the size of the container we're using today for the primordial soup. Oh, there was one thing I was going to do before we get started with the mixing. I forgot about that. I was going to just go ahead and start doing some rough cuts of the fabric so that it's approximately the correct width for the project. And I'm using a soft cotton cloth. This is a bed sheet. My daughter, who's 13, this was her bed sheet, and I took one look at it. She tends to like do art in her room and on her bed. She likes to paint things, and she also eats in bed. And I took a look at this one recently, and I thought this needs to go into the Cottonstone pile, because this looks really shabby. But what I like about this is 100% cotton. Hi, Tom. What I like about this one is that it's nice and pliable. So there are other cottons that are going to be more stiff, and those work better for some projects. See, this is a stiffer one. This is not as pliable, not as soft, and we can use that for a different project that requires, you know, more of a, I guess, a harder texture, you could say. And I'm considering using that one that's stiffer for the second layer. But to get started with the first layer, I want something that's soft and that conforms to our mold really well, like this one does. Okay, so to get started here, I'm just doing a rough cut to get the material approximately the width that we need for our first pass. And we're going to do a first pass that's across the body, I think. We're going to do first pass that goes, it's going to go like this way. And that's to hold everything in place. And we'll do some cuts to get it layered in. And then we're going to do a second pass that goes this way, lengthwise. So I'd say that this is probably good enough for here. And I do these rough cuts often before I get started, just because it's easier to be able to choose the material, the fabric piece that you need while you have the soup going. Then you know which one to dunk in the soup and so on. I don't like that there are holes in it, but since we're doing at least 2 layers of everything, it'll be fine. It's not that big of a deal. Let's see here. I think that's good for, this is going to be good for the first pass, and then we're going to do another one that goes lengthwise. Well, actually, here, let's use this piece instead of this one because this second one doesn't have holes in it. Yeah, this sheet was demolished. It definitely needed to be taken out of commission. Okay. Will it go all the way around? I think it will. Well, maybe we could try it this way. No, it doesn't. It's not as wide as we need it to be. So I'm going to go and just see if there's something better down here. I think that I could, well, if need be, I can just get a completely different sheet. I mean, I have lots of them. Let me give this another shot here. Yeah, that's okay. That works. You know, people throw out cotton sheets that are in way better shape than this, or they give them away. I get mine from thrift stores for the most part. I don't just wait for family members to finally wear them out. And I find, yeah, obviously the ones that I get from the thrift store are in much better shape than this one. Otherwise, I probably wouldn't buy them, and they probably wouldn't sell them. What's funny is I have tons of sheets that are in better shape than many of the ones that we sleep on. I need to rob the Cottonstone kitty sometimes to get nice, high-quality sheets. Trade them out for the ones that I've been sleeping on or that other family members have been sleeping on. Okay, so that's good. I kind of like where we're going with this length here, and we're going to cut this down and get it to fit onto our form, hopefully, once it gets in the soup. So this is the one that goes around, and now we need one that goes lengthwise across our work. And we want it to go lengthwise, but we also want it to completely wrap around. Well, no, it doesn't have to. It can lay, yeah, it can lay like this. In fact, it's better if it doesn't wrap all the way around like the first pass. And then this second pass will also continue to integrate the horn. So I think that's probably a good length here. These are really dull for my dry scissors. Usually I want my dry scissors to be quite sharp. I don't know what happened to these because I barely used them. I need to sharpen or replace them. Okay, so this is layer 2. And then I'm going to need a layer 3 that goes from the bottom up, I think. And for that, I'm just going to I think I'll just trim off the hem here at the top and declare this the third piece, and then we're just going to kind of go from there. Although I do want to, before I do that, I kind of got off track here. A lot of times it will tear along the edge that you've started it on, but because this is a stretchy cotton, it's a bit more challenging. This can be one of the strips that we use for the horn. So this is number 3. This is number 2. And this is number 1. So this is the order that they're going to go into the soup. 1, 2, and 1, 2, 3. And then I got to sit cross-legged for a while because my feet are starting to fall asleep. Then we need to have some strips here, because the strips are going to wrap around the horn. We're also going to use the strips for the legs, and we're going to use the strips for the ears. So I'm just getting prepared with some strips of varying length. And this stretchy material may be too pliable for those details. We may want to use this stiffer material that's behind me, but I'm gonna cut these up. We're gonna give them a try and see what happens. Of course, the thing about Cottonstone is this is supposed to be fun. We're supposed to be having fun, and you know what? This could end in disaster. This unipig could end up looking like something completely different. You know, a few days ago, I worked on that frog. I guess it was about a week ago when I was live streaming about the garden frog that I did? Anyway, and you know, I wasn't so sure about the garden frog when I was making it. Did I live stream that one, or did I just record it? I can't remember. I think that I just recorded it and I was going to publish it later. I don't think that I ever did that. I was listening to a talk by Nassim Haramein. That's the thing that I remember. He's a physicist, and there was this fascinating talk that I was listening to while I was working on the frog. And that's kind of the way that it goes sometimes, where my time to work on Cottonstone is a time that feels like, oh, I could really just, get into a philosophical podcast or a podcast about physics and philosophy. I mean, I don't listen to pure physics podcasts. I wouldn't be able to follow what they're saying for the most part. So I tend to listen to physics podcasts that are about where people are physicists are addressing cosmology and philosophy and teleology and fun things like consciousness, things that I like to think about and talk about. And I like to hear about the perspectives of physicists as well as many other people when it comes to consciousness and so on. Now, just in case that see how these are like rolling up, I'm not sure that they're going to make very good. I'm not sure they're going to be the right thing that we need for these legs. I'm not sure that it's going to be easy to get them to hold on to the legs. I mean, we're going to give it a try. I mean, I do like how stretchy they are. I do think that there's lots of potential. Oh, and as I'm wrapping this here, I'm seeing that there's lots of potential here just showing up for the ridges that we're going to need to make the unipig's horn look authentic. Like an authentic unicorn horn. We're going to want it to have those ridges in it. So maybe this will be useful for, see, look at this. We're going to do something like this, where we're going to do a few passes like this to encourage the ridges. It's almost like a seashell pattern, right? That you would see on some seashells. I can't remember the name of it, but the seashell that has this diagonal pattern. So we're going to do that to finish the horn. But first, we've got to get the material on here. Hi, Tommy. We've got to get some other material on here so that the horn is good and secured to the head. And then we're going to work on this part of it. But yeah, just a happy accident, which, you know, happens to me all the time when I'm working with Cottonstone, where the material cooperates with the vision. And Tom, we're sitting on a whole bunch of fabric that we need to use here. You're sitting on it. What are you doing? And you know what? I'm going to be doing something dangerous. I'm going to be putting Cottonstone powder in this bin, and you're going to possibly inhale. You're going to inhale that. And I don't have a mask that fits you. What are we going to do? What are we going to do? No, I can't do this right now. Do I need to go and get you a treat? Do I need to go and get you a treat and then you'll sit somewhere else? And thank you. Okay. Well, here we are. We're right at the point where we're about to make our soup, our primordial soup, and start the process of making the concrescents. And we're dealing with a dog that got in the way. So, okay, I'll be right back, guys. I'm just going to run and get him a treat. And, but I think you'll be able to hear me talking because I have a wireless microphone. I'm just going to go in here and grab him a treat to eat. Leave me alone for a minute. Leave me alone. That's all I'm doing is Cottonstone work, and then we'll hang out. Okay. We can hang out after that. Okay, I've just locked him out of here. I hope that he doesn't start whining. He'll probably start whining because I blocked the passageway. Anyway. Okay, here we go. Now, I'm estimating how much material we need, and I'm thinking we need about 3 cups of Cottonstone powder and 3 cups of water. I'm going to do our spell. The spell prepares the swamp, the soup. Okay. If you do the spell right, you'll see a lot of bubbles. Once the powder and the water get mixed together, you'll see a lot of bubbles. Oh, I left my water bucket over there. Grab that. And where are my containers? My containers. Here they are. And I had this white plastic down here to help you see what was going on with the preparation of the form. But now I want the this to sit right directly on those red rocks, because I want to have, I'm being intentional in my practice these days about drawing energy from the earth. And so I want these red rocks to help conduct energy from the earth. And to have that energy contribute to the creation of our unipig. She needs, like, I just feel like as I'm working, I want to be mindful of the role of the earth in bringing things into form. I guess that's how I could put it. So we've got 1 container, 2 containers. I'm being really cautious here. I have computer equipment, other electronic equipment, and cement dust powder. The magical Cottonstone powder is an enemy of electronic devices. It gets into everything, onto everything. So by being calm, when I place it in the container, I'm hoping to reduce how much dust is flying around. And I'm going to wear the mask, as I said, just while I'm getting the water and the cement powder incorporated. Once the water has fully inundated the cement powder, we won't need to wear the mask anymore. So I'm going to remove it. But for your safety, I really encourage you to always wear a mask during this phase of the process. And anytime that you're sweeping up, like after you're done working and everything's dried, anytime you're like sweeping and stirring up the dust, please wear a mask. Cottonstone is a way of accessing mystical powers, magical powers, divine powers, but that doesn't mean that you're automatically protected from the effects of getting powder in your lungs. It's not worth the risk. 1, 2, look at how many bubbles there are. The spell worked. 3. And withhold just a tiny bit in case we need to add more water later. There's like, I don't know how much, 1/8 of the container is left in there, or 1/9 of the container. And I'm going to use my right hand, because I'm right-handed, I'm going to use my right hand to incorporate the water and the powder, leaving my left gloved hand dry so that I can remove the mask once the powder is incorporated. It looks like we're just about at that point. Now it's safe to remove the mask, so I'm going to do so. Get a drink. Okay, here we are. One of the things that I always try to remember to do is to spend this time when I'm doing the mixing being in something of a reverie. It's harder to do when there's a live stream going on, even if no one is currently watching. But it's harder to do this when there's a live stream because, I feel compelled to talk. But when I'm doing a Cottonstone work by myself, I spend a few minutes just kind of looking into this primordial soup and letting my mind wander, maybe not thinking about anything in particular, maybe just looking at the designs that are forming on the top of the water, or noticing the bubbles. And like I always say, we don't have enough opportunities to engage in a reverie. Yes? Yeah. Okay. To engage in a reverie, and that means just kind of being lost in thought while you're doing one thing that doesn't require a lot of concentration or focus. And that's an opportunity for your mind to wander and for you to absent-mindedly accomplish your task. And that's fun. Okay, so now we're at a point where the primordial soup is made, and I think I'm going to take back what I said about removing that plastic. I'm just going to have the earth's powers come through the plastic because I need to move the swamp off to the side. I need to move our bin over here. And I need to bring back, let's see, you can still see that. That's good. I need to bring back this board because I want to use this as a place where we lay this out while it's being formed, because I think it'll be easier for you to see with this camera here. Is that good? Yeah. It'll be easier for you to see the pig coming into formation on here with this white background. Okay, so what we're going to do here now is we're going to immerse the cotton cloth, our first piece. We're going to immerse it in this cement water mixture. Have it get completely inundated. This is going to become the first layer. Looks like some of it doesn't have enough on it, so I'm going to just dip it again just to make sure that there's no area that's untouched. What I want to do here is, I think I want to work from the top down and just let it drape evenly on both sides. If that doesn't work, I'll go the other direction. It doesn't seem very good. I think I need to go the other direction like this. Dawnette. Where are you going, babe? Okay. Well, you know, feeling my way through here, and eyes are going to be down here. And what I'm noticing right away is that there needs to be more filler here because it looks like an elephant. And that's okay. This is an opportunity for us to correct course, learn more about what's going on here and how to fill it in. I guess in my mind I thought that it would have more definition through the hindquarters than it does. But I do have material here that's handy that we can use to supplement. This pig needs to be fatter, okay? It's not fat enough. And maybe that should have been apparent from the beginning, but it wasn't, and that's okay. This is a learning process. And now is the time to learn. So we will do that. We're just going to add some fat under here. Hopefully it's looks like pig fat, right? Excuse me, ma'am, while I dig under your skin. Will it look like a pig? That is the big question. I mean, I think as we, let's see, what can you see here? Yeah, as we work to define where the eyes are, and to put the horn up, I think we're going to be okay. But it feels like there also may need to be some more, like a couple of things of fat that are placed here. Like, let's think about what a hog's head looks like. Good thing these are plentiful. I want to say that probably need to put one here and one here to make brows, you know? And yeah, one of these is uneven. One of them isn't as big as the other one, or one of them has fallen a little. Does it need to be placed back further? It just doesn't have enough air. I don't know what's going on. That's not the issue because they have the same amount of air. I think it's that this side is falling a little, or maybe it was never up as high. We can adjust that later, but yeah, that's better. And now I feel like the back side needs to have a little more of a gentle flow into the rump right there. And we all need a more gentle flow into the rump, I think, don't we? And what I was thinking was that the pig is going to, it's going to be mostly head. It's going to be like a head of a pig with legs. or the head and the body are kind of one and the same. So that seems okay. And then what we need to do here now is wrap this under. So in Cottonstone, there's a lot of like peeling back layers and putting layers back and trying to remember what you did on one side so that you can repeat it on the other side. And there's a lot of like fat falling and skin falling and surprises. That is the way of Cottonstone. It doesn't always turn out the way that you think it should. In fact, it never does. But it can still be fun and rewarding, and you can still create wonderful art using these processes. It's amazing how much this is like skin. So my daughter, the same daughter whose sheet this was, the one who's 13, we've been watching Gentry Chow versus the Underworld. And it's such a great show. It's on Netflix. And there's a character named Kit, and he's like, they call him Painted Skin. He's able to help with shape shifting by color matching people's skin and like taking on roles where he becomes somebody else because he can he's from the demon realm, but he's able to like put on human skin so he can pass as a high school student in Gentry Chow's school. And well, it's still giving elephant. You know what we're gonna say, that this thing could be a unipig or it could turn into something completely different. But what we've done is we've as long as I don't mess it up here, what we've done is we've now created a body that's has quite a bit of symmetry on both sides, and now we can make some cuts to the front and the back that are going to allow us to some cuts to the front and the back that are going to allow us to finish this first layer. How well can you see what's going on here? So if I turn it this way, you can see that here's what we have underneath. We have this piece at the very base. This is wrapping around. Yeah. And this is where it starts to double under here. So what we can do is we can now use our wet scissors to make some cuts here and even things up. So hopefully my wet scissors are sharp enough to do this, and I don't want to run into any, I don't want to pop any of our air pockets while I'm doing this. How well can you see this? One thing I don't like about the stretchy one is the stretchy material doesn't tear as readily along the line that I want it to tear. So that's a bit of a challenge. But what I'm doing here is I'm attempting to make cuts that are parallel to the base here so that we can bring this up under and over and tuck this underneath like this, or tuck this underneath here. Make sure this is even. Tuck this in here, and we'll tuck this over here, and then here's another piece that we can tuck all the way. And this is just good practice when you're making cottonstone, to try to tuck things under and tighten things up as much as you can. Okay, so that's pretty good. What's happening here? Yeah. And I like to avoid having a lot of how would you say, visible areas where things are doubled up. So I did those first cuts to tuck this material that's here up under. Now the next cut that I'm going to do is across here, so that I can tuck this tail piece underneath the body. So I was saying that Ivy and I are watching Gentry Chow versus the Underworld, and there's a character named Kit, and he does this kind of work where he has like reams of what looks like skin material. So that was just wild to be watching that, and I didn't make the connection immediately, but then later I was reflecting on it. I was like, holy shit, that's like cottonstone. That's what I'm doing when I'm working on cottonstone, is I'm like kind of creating skin that goes on these creatures and these characters. So now I'm rotating our pig upside down, and I'm trying to tighten this over her body, or under her body rather. Trying to tighten this so that the skin conforms to the shape that we want it to. And again, I'm starting to question, is this really a pig? Are we able to make the pig that we had in mind, or is this going to end up being some kind of other creature that we may end up loving just as much as we would have loved the pig, albeit one less recognizable, probably, unless we're really surprised. So what's going on here is that this side is like nice and tight and even. There was just a little bit of material here that feels extra, and I'm not sure what to do with it. And I don't want to just bunch it up. Anywhere when I run into something like this where there's material balled up, I just try to release the stress. And that usually means just making a cut and tucking things in. And we don't need to be too precious about this, because there's going to be another layer that goes over it. So what we're just attempting to do here is to make things as smooth as possible. And yes, this is going to get another layer onto it. So I'm not going to worry too much about how it looks right now. Again, this stretchy material, I haven't worked with this as much, and I think that's partly why I'm running into, yeah, it's just an unusual situation. Nothing to be, concerned or alarmed about. But when I do like how it's relatively symmetrical. There's a little bit of gravity happening on this side where it's falling a bit on this side. But I'm not going to stress about it. Fix it in post, as they say. But it's fun to, it's fun to look at how Ooh, these kind of look like ears already. That's giving pig. Before I make the cut, to identify or to lock in where the horn will be, I want to make sure that I've really stretched out the material as much as I can. And yeah. Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and make a little cut here. And I'm going to make another little cut right here. Because we want that to fall. We want that to fall like that and fall naturally like that. And then I'm going to make another cut here at the base on each side of the snout, because we want this to curve up and start to embrace the snout right here. This needs to curve up and embrace the snout. It's very interesting working with Cottonstone, how much for me it's been an intuitive process where to make cuts and how to reinforce and how to make sure that there are like multiple layers covering everything, because I like to have at least 2 layers over everything. And partly that's come through practice, of course, but I also feel to some extent like I just naturally have known where to make cuts, or there's like some kind of sixth sense about that I'm just following intuition. So to look at the bottom here, we've got this piece is going to go I'm just having this piece stretch here, and that's because I want to have good integration in this layer of material and the snout. It'll just make it stronger. I'm not loving how these pieces are just laying here, or maybe it's okay if this is kind of folded under here. Guess that's okay. I'd like it better if there was some way to have this embrace the snout, start to embrace the snout here, even though it's not long enough. But what I can do is when we do the next layer, I can just find a way to possibly bring these pieces forward just a little bit more so that they're doing a better job of holding the snout on. Okay, so that's our first layer. Reminder that this is where the eyes are. The ears are going to be up here. Liking it. Yes. It has the shape of a pig, and this is suggesting that there's an ear here. I really like that. I think it's a good visual aid. Roughly where the ears are going to be. So it's fun to think about how it will look when it's all said and done. The next thing I'm going to do is dunk our next piece here. And the water's been sitting a while, so it needs to be reactivated to make sure that the Cottonstone powder, magical Cottonstone powder, is doing its thing. Okay. Now for this one, we're going to need to scooch our work over and lay this out like this. Has to go as flat as possible. Like that. And this is going to integrate the full snout. Oh. Take a review and look at the bottom of this before we do that. Make sure it's all tight. Yeah. It has to be as tight as possible, and this has to lay flat. Okay. And then just getting a rough look at how much material we have on each side. Okay, it looks like we're a little bit heavy on my side. To move it this way and bring it over like that, and this, go like this. There we go. Let's get. Ooh, look at that. It's exactly the right width if we tighten it, you know? So remember what I was saying about it working itself out. And so now we have this perfect length, perfect width here. And now it's just a matter of trimming things up here. Is there enough to cover the butt? Or do we need to scooch it back a little? Well, I don't want to scooch it back. The butt has like multiple layers. Yeah, I'm going to declare that there's enough for the butt. We're going to deal with that later. What we're going to focus on right now, love how perfect the length is here. I'm going to focus on the snout. Can you see that okay? I mean, it's not the ideal camera setup, I know. I'm working on making improvements to that. But here we have the pig's snout. And this needs to like come in through here like that. So yeah, if there's any question about what kind of animal this is, the snout really will help, you know. Earlier I said it kind of looked like an elephant. It's no longer really giving elephant because we've gotten to the snout part. And trying to decide here where to make the cuts. I think what we want to do, because this is all so perfect here, we want to just follow the line of this and let it be where it is. And so I think I'm going to just go like this, and this can start to form the base of our horn. Looks like it's going to need to have a little bit of a, let's see, which layer is that? This is the second layer. So it just needs to have a cut right here. And then this starts to fold under the eyes. Yep, that starts to fold under the eyes. And then this is going to be the piece that connects this layer to our horn and make sure that that's nice and strong. And Then, since we're working on this bottom layer, I think what we also want to do is cut somewhere right around here so that we can start to lay into the snout. I'm doing a balancing act of trying to show you what I'm doing. My imaginary audience, which will turn into a real audience because this is like a very fun project. I think lots of people are going to want to do this Cottonstone project. Even though no one is watching the live stream right now, there will be people tuning into this one later, and I'll probably do a class on this. I will do a class on this if people are interested and answer people's questions. But what I'm doing there is I'm wrapping this piece that I cut there around the back side of where we're locating the eyes. Then I'm going to do something similar with this other piece here. But first, I started making cuts on this side. So this piece needs to lay flat and first against the snout, obviously, before I start making cuts on the other side. And I want to have this follow and fall along the line where it feels natural. And here's what this side looks like. So I made that cut and now it's just lying here. Now I'm going to make some cuts on this side so that this will lay across here and then the eyes will go, like this will go across the eye sockets over there. So I want you to know what I'm doing even though I can't really, because of the way the camera is angled, I can't really fully show what's going on that side. But what I am going to point out is that I'm pushing material against the form here, and that's giving me an idea of where to make the cut for the snout. And you have to work from the bottom here. You have to work from the bottom up. And I'm not going to trust, normally if it was the kind of thicker cotton, I would just rip this, which makes it easier to do if you can just rip it. I'm going to cut with these scissors because I don't trust that it's going to rip for a long distance like that. I don't trust that it's going to rip in the right way. So then I'm just folding this along here. Oh, that looks great. Look at that. So folding that along there, and then I'm going to make some cuts here to clean up the end of the snout. But in the meantime, I'm going to do these other cuts here and tuck this underneath and get the face, the eyes, hopefully right in this process. So if that goes, this needs to go just a little further this way. And then I do like how that handle of the fabric softener bottle gives kind of a ridge for the forehead. I do like that piece. And I think we're going to be able to capture that in the Cottonstone here. One of the things I'm working on now is I'm attempting to take out the excessive wrinkles. So there's a bunch of wrinkles coming down here, and I think if I relieve some of the tension in the fabric on this side, it's going to help with addressing those wrinkles, because we want wrinkles on purpose, not on accident. And a way to eliminate wrinkles or relieve them is to make cuts. So I'm going to make cuts to relieve stress. That really helps. And one thing I'm thinking, is this a serious pig? She looks really serious to me, and I was wanting her to be more whimsical. And geez, what if we conjure a really mad pig? Well, she has every right to be. If that's the case, she has every right to be. But we'll see. We're going to see how it turns out. I'm relieving some of the pressure along there because I want this to fall along the snout line naturally. want this to fall along the snout line naturally. Okay, so I think that that's helping with the wrinkles. Or at least I was helping with the wrinkles, and then I started fussing with it some more. So now I've got to make a new cut to relieve some of that stress there. And that's okay. I think that's good. And I'm feeling underneath here, because at a certain point you just have to go with what the form is. You can't just guess and expect to get away with it. So I'm going to do that. I'm going to look at this, and it looks like that's going to tell us where we need to make our next cut. But I've got to really look at this. I'll look at her head on here. Okay, so here's what she looks like. This is what I'm studying. I'm trying to see her face. I'm trying to see where she... This is wild. Look at this. This looks like a mouth opening right here. I guess we could have her with a mouth open. But, yeah. Now she's giving narwhal. I feel like I wasn't following my own advice and really letting it conform to the mold. I'm going to try to just take away... I'm taking off a piece that I thought had been settled, that was laying against the can. And I'm redoing it because I feel like it needs to... Yeah, it needed to go back more so that it can be even on both sides. And that means I've got to make a new lower cut here so that this can fold under here. This can lay naturally. And then this can... Yeah, this can go like that. Yeah. I think this needs to go... I'm not going to trust it to rip the right way. Cut it. And then this is falling in line where it's supposed to. And this is going to come around here and conform to the snout. And it's going to wrap under the snout over here. And then I'm going to spend some time cleaning this up so that this falls where it's supposed to. On this side. Yeah, the material being stretchy has its drawbacks, but I think it has benefits too, because it really has the feeling of pig's hide. And in fact, I used to have this fun like leather pig that was in the living room, and it had a seam along its back that was just like that. So it's a reincarnation of Jethro, the leather pig. This girl, Donita, the unipig. Gave a nod to her forebears. Okay, so what's going to happen with the, remember I showed this very early on? This is what I had in mind to help define where the eyes are going to be. And I think that'll be okay. Do they look too close together? She looks untrustworthy because her eyes are too close together. No, I'm just kidding you, Donita. We have complete confidence in you. That you are the unipig goddess. I'm just now attempting to fold things together and marry the layers so that they're working in harmony to double up here and provide good coverage. Now that I have the snout in place, maybe I can do a little more to stretch the under layer so that it conforms to the shape better. And then bring this up. Okay. Got to make more cuts on this because it's bunching up on this side. I think I'm solving the problem by just, yeah, that's good. Solving the problem by just making cuts, relieving pressure. Wherever there's stress, relieve pressure to the best of your ability. It's the Cottonstone way. Okay. Now this, I think this is looking pretty good. It looks like a pig. And now I'm going to work on the tip of the snout. What does my intuition say I need to do about the tip of the snout? I think it's saying I just need to fold this up. Not make any cuts. It doesn't really need any cuts. It just needs, well, maybe it needs a little cut. It needs a little cut here to relieve this pressure. And I had thought we would need to do a third layer that goes over the whole thing. But now I'm thinking we don't. I love how clean it's looking. I need to clean up the back side here. And integrate the second layer really well. So for this part, I'm going to make a cut that goes horizontally right here. So that this piece can go over and meet over here on this side. And then I'm going to make another cut here. another cut right here so that we can do this. Go like this, then like this, and then this piece will come up to finish it. Okay. One thing I'm being mindful of now, though, is that this will need to be taken apart tomorrow morning during the leather phase. So the leather phase is like around 12 hours into the life of the project, or 14 hours, 16 hours, something like that. And these flaps will need to be opened up. And actually, I'm going to make another cut here. It's easier to plan ahead and have things fold and fold open so that you can access and dispose of, or like, excavate the pieces of the mold that are inside. It's better to plan ahead and do that while it's wet. And then in the leather phase, you're just unwrapping the folds and then putting them back together and then adding more of this cement water to seal it again. So I'm being mindful of that. Even though this looks fantastic right now and I hate to cut it, I'm going to do that right now because I want to have easy access to remove any unwanted pieces tomorrow during excavation. So knowing that this piece ended up being able to fold, actually this will fold this way, this will fold this way, this will come up. That means I want to have a cut that goes just right across there. I was thinking it would be like a butt crack, but we're going to do a cut that goes across here because that seems like the best way to access and dispose of the mold, the unwanted pieces of the form tomorrow. They're very much wanted right now because it's what's holding our Cottonstone work together, but we need to be planning ahead here and getting ready. And now that we know what shape we have and we've put things in order, we know how the material can best lie. We're going to open things up, being careful, of course, not to pop anything. Okay, so this is the access to the back side that we're going to need tomorrow morning. And for now, we're going to close this up. Yeah, we're going to close this up. Should I use binder clips or should I use paper or clothespins? I'm going to use whatever I can find first. I think I'm going to use binder clips, but I'll bring both over just so we know that we have an option. And I'm not readily laying eyes on the binder clips. Where the heck did they go? Oh, it's okay. Let's see what's going on with these clothespins. Yeah. I'm so sorry, Donette. I wish that there was a way to wave a magic wand and just remove the part we don't want tomorrow without having to open you up. But so far, we don't have the technology to do that. So we've got to plan ahead here. Try to get these to lay as flat as possible because I don't want it, they don't need to unnecessarily extend her butt. I feel like actually, you know what would be even better? I think I know where these are. Is safety pins. Where are my safety pins? I wonder if staples would work. I have a stapler here. No, I don't feel like it would need to be a heavy duty stapler, and all I have there is a regular office stapler. Yes. What's the other thing I could do? Just use wire. But we need to sew it in. Well. It was going so well. Now I'm kind of at an impasse. Well, you know what? Yeah, actually, okay, so these have to stay up. These pieces have to stay up. Otherwise, yeah, it's sad that we had to open her up back there because it was such clean lines. She was so smooth on the back side, and then we had to open her up. Okay, well, I found a couple of binder clips. Let's see if that helps. Yeah. Okay. Let's go with that, knowing that what we'll need to do, and what we will do anyway, is some healing spells. We will need to do a healing spell to restore any lost skin and heal any damage from the excavation. But you know, it's kind of like what we have to do is on ourselves as humans. We have to excavate whatever doesn't belong, and that causes pain and damage along the way. But it's our experience of being human just involves that kind of discomfort. So I will do my best to make it painless for you. Donette, Donita, Donna. Okay, so here it's looking quite a bit like a pig, in my estimation. right? Does it look like a pig to you? Looks like a pig to me. Now what we need to do, since we have 2 layers over everything, we need to just focus on we have 2 layers over the body. We need to focus on making 2 layers over the snout, and we need to make the horn, and then we need to make the feet, the legs, and then we need to make the ears, or we need to do all of those. It doesn't necessarily need to be in that order, and then we'll be done for the evening. Okay, so I'm liking that. And one of the things about that we can do to help with the healing process tomorrow is we can do in advance is just really train. We're training how the skin needs to be when what's removed, the parts that don't belong, are taken away. We'll want the skin to come back into this form. So I'm adding more of the magical Cottonstone water so that it gets really good and soaked into the hide here. And that way it will remember what it's supposed to be. So what we're doing is we're casting a memory spell by adding more of the cement water, more of the Cottonstone water from the primordial soup into this area. What we're doing is we're teaching her this is what it should feel like when you're whole again, and when the parts of you that weren't you are removed. It doesn't hurt to do that kind of a process over the whole thing that we've made so far. There are some chunks of like cement chunks in here that are not broken down. I think, well, this is not old cement. I don't know why cement powder has these chunks in it. And I did clean out the bucket pretty well. Didn't notice anything in there. So I don't know where those chunks are coming from, but they can add character. It doesn't have to be the end of the world to have some chunks going on there. Let's work on the horn. Let's work on the snout so that we can be done with this project, this phase of the project. And it's been such a pleasure bringing Donna, the flying unipig, into creation. I love how these tiny feet are supposed to support this big body here. It's a riot. These tiny little feet here. Okay, let's finish wrapping the snout. I need a pretty wide piece for the snout. What we want to do is just wrap this around a few times, or at least once, to reinforce the snout. I think to make her seem less menacing, we're going to need to have a paint job, a colorful paint job, potentially. I don't know what. Ultimately, it's Donna's decision what color she wants to be, and whether she wants her horn to be a colorful horn. I was envisioning it being colorful. It's really up to her. What I'm doing is making a little cut here so that as we start this snout, it can lay against the face. Might have been a little aggressive with that cut. And the downside of it being this stretchy material is that it tends to really curl up on itself. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Just going to start wrapping it. Maybe I'll do a cut here, a mini cut. Do a mini cut here, just to get it started. There we go. So it can lay flat like that. So you guys, I've been watching a lot of near-death experience videos. I mean, I've watched them historically, once in a while when one popped up that seemed particularly interesting, but I've just gotten so into them lately, and I think it's fascinating to watch those videos and listen to people's stories and find out what's the commonalities are and what the differences are. Try to find out who's lying. I mean, what a racket that would be, It's like if you faked one, you could make so much money from going on the lecture circuit and being part of the community. And, there's like a whole association of researchers who look into them. It's not to say that I'm skeptical about most of them, but I don't want to think that all of them are real, So I'm trying to look for, it's not what I mainly do. Mainly I just try to receive the story, because even if somebody's making up their NDE, it says something about them and, and the human condition. But I do like to hear about, they're like stories, they serve a purpose. They're like stories of, I think they serve a purpose in a way that mythology may have served a purpose, or did and does serve a purpose. And for our ancestors, hearing these wild tales about that put life in a larger context has got to be what helped give their lives meaning, And I think the NDEs are kind of like that. They serve that purpose of inviting us to think about astral realms and space travel and being limitless. And earlier, when I was talking about how I was making the frog, I made a frog work recently, and I was listening to Nassim Haramein the whole time, Haramine, and that was really fun to listen to Nassim's thinking about the nature of space and time and our purpose on Earth. And So those are the kinds of topics that I like to think about and talk about. And one of the things that I'm going to be putting on my LinkedIn is my new title. I'm a spiritual experience designer. So I got a master's degree. A couple years ago, I finished my master's degree at Northeastern University. And my degree title is Learning Experience Design and Technology. As I've reflected on it more, what I feel like my calling in life boils down to is being a spiritual experience designer. I want to support people who are on a quest to think about their lives or place their lives in the context of a larger frame. Like, many people ask, what is the meaning and purpose of my life? And I want to walk alongside people who are asking those questions and engaging in dialogue around that. So I'm unwrapping this because I realized what I want to do here before I put the wrapper around to finish it is I need to put one more layer on the tip of the snout. And so I'm just going to cut a piece here. Cut a piece here that can go right here so that our girl has a little bit more protection for her snout against the elements. I mean, this is the leading edge as she's flying through outer space. Speaking of astral realms, this snout needs to be really well reinforced so that it doesn't break apart or, encounter any difficulties as she's going on these flights. And to help it fall the right way, I'm making these cuts on the sides. One of the things that bothers me, and very occasionally you'll run into an NDE experience that's heavily references one spiritual tradition, especially like a specific denomination of Christianity or a specific sect or cult or whatever, and that bugs me. Like, dude, you did not hear from, the creator of the universe that this one particular brand of Christianity is like the way. Not when so many other people who have had NDEs come back and report that they've felt overwhelming love and acceptance and compassion and forgiveness. And it wasn't about, it wasn't about realizing that they needed to follow a specific sect of Christianity or any religion. An all-loving, all-knowing, all-encompassing source doesn't confine people like that, So those are the ones that bug me. I mean, those people, I'll listen to them anyway. They usually have something good to say. And I really try to meet people where they are when it comes to people who have strong convictions about religion. I mean, I think it's good to believe something. So I want to hear what they have to say. But it just bugs me when they try to limit should be unlimited. Okay, so that's the snout. I'm not totally sure. You know what? Sometimes it's better to stop when you're ahead, so I'm going to cut this part off because I liked how it was wrinkly like a snout, but it wasn't falling back on itself. So that's good for now. Now we're going to work on the horn, and then we'll do the legs, and then we'll do the ears, and then we'll be done. Wow, I just love how smooth this is. One thing you have to remember with Cottonstone is that the work wants to come into being as much as you want it to come into being, possibly more. So it's cooperating with you. It's cooperating with you to come into being. So what I'm trying to do is get out of the way, you know, get out of my own way and let things be created. Follow the inspiration where it leads. You know, this whole Cottonstone journey has led me to question, where do ideas come from? Where does art come from? Where do ideas, you know, about artworks come from? It's fun to think about those things. In some ways, I don't like the way that it curls. In a lot of ways, I don't like the way that these curl. But here, as I noted before, on the horn, it will work to our advantage, but I'm going to do 2 passes. I know that already. In this first pass, I don't necessarily want to have all of those pronounced wrinkles or pronounced ridges. And there's no way to avoid them completely. I'm not trying to accentuate them here. I'm just trying to get a first pass done. And then on the next pass, then we'll just let the wrinkles fall where they may a little more. My back is not great right now. I had this whole setup on a tall table before. That didn't work great. And now I have this on the floor. This also doesn't feel very good after this much time. So I'm going to have to experiment with some other techniques. Okay, so that's okay. I'm just going to go ahead and I think I'm going to just head back where I came from because I want this for reinforcement. And then we're going to do our final pass. It's good. And the final pass, yeah, this looks like a good piece for that. Maybe my daughter, the artist, who's 13, will want to paint Donna. And she's done. Oh, Donna. Oh, Donna. Oh, Donna. Go. Thinking that this piece of fabric here is not gonna be quite long enough. I'm gonna need to pick up where I left off here in a bit. with a final piece. But I do like how these ridges are coming together, and they're adding quite a bit of texture to the horn. It looks pretty realistic. I mean, I've never seen a unipig in real life, but this is a passable unipig, I think. I take back what I said. I think maybe I'm going to be able to make it with this piece here. And it gets small so we can like really tie it around there actually. It's just necessary to hold it in place while it's curing. Because once it cures, it'll get really hard. Okay. Good. Cut that dangler later. Okay, now that looks really good. I like that. Add more of the cement water here to remind Donna of what the horn is supposed to feel like. Remember your horn. Remember your snout. This is what it feels like to have a horn and to have a snout. Don't forget, okay? You're beautiful. Absolutely beautiful, Donna. Look at you. This is what it feels like. This is what it feels like to be a unipig. Do you like it? I think she likes it. She likes being a unipig. Okay. Those chunks are kind of bugging me, but I don't know where they came from. I don't know what to do about them now. You can sand them off later. Overall, I'm just really happy with how, with the shape of our unipig. How smooth it is. How much it, yeah. How much it does follow the mold that we created. I think it's really good. So I'm going to scooch her over this way and then use this spot here, which is kind of wet. Use this spot here for forming the legs and the ears, and we'll be done. I've got to cut a few more strips for this purpose. I think that, yeah, just I'll experiment with one first leg here. Let's see how it looks before I do any more cutting, just in case this doesn't work. I have a hunch that if I grab this and just, oh, the tail. Good thing I remembered. We also need to do the tail. I don't know if I've mentioned the tail at all, but we don't want to forget her tail. She needs to have a curly tail. Okay, so that's a reason to have this be thinner. This piece needs to be thinner because We want to respect the curvature here at the knee, and if I make it thicker, then it won't respect the curvature. However, we do need to do something first, and that's we want to have some purchase. The leg needs to have some purchase up here at the top so that it can be glued, better glued to the base, the bottom of the pig. And in order to get purchase, we need to have some loose material here at the top. So I'm just starting this with some loose material here like that, and this will like go up and can be glued underneath. So I'm just doing us a favor by this material is hard to work with. I overcut all the time. Just meant to have like a little slit there. Yeah, meant to have a little slit there, not a full cut. Okay, so that's good. And then it's too thick. I'm going to stop it there and then switch to this one. This one will respect the bend in the knee. Actually, I'm going to start working from down here. I don't know what we're going to do about hooves and feet. I'm just going with the legs so far. I think it's just going to suggest a hoof. I don't think we're going to fuss too much over the details of the hoof of each leg. Just love how she has these little spindly legs that are supposedly sustaining this giant pig. Okay, it needs a little more up top here so that there's purchase for gluing. So I'm just going to wrap a little bit more around the top, and I'm going to make a cut so that it's open. Okay, that's pretty good. And you have to leave an opening here because we need to extract the cardboard from the inside once it cures. So that's roughly what we want to do for all 4 of those. I'm gonna try something different this time though. I feel like I could speed things up by doing a wide one that's just one pass. Rather than going around and around and around a whole bunch of times. Maybe we can try it this way. Well, we could just, instead of worrying about the bend right now, we can just wrap the leg completely. And it doesn't need more than like 4 passes, I think. And then, yeah, how much extra material do we have? Yeah, that's pretty good actually. Yeah, that's superior. I'm going to say that's the new method that we're going to use. So just going to have one leg that looks like that and 3 legs that look like this. Can you tell I'm tired? Like, I'm ready to be done for the night. So my perfectionism has to just take a backseat to getting it done. Just gonna be done. This piece turned out to be a little too short. That's not what I had in mind. I want it to be supposed to be the length. Which one of these is supposed to be the length of the leg? Now this is closer. And I don't think I need all of it to be dunked. I'm just gonna do this much of it. Yay. Okay. That's way too thick, way too wide. Start over here. Yeah, same problem essentially, but I do like how it gives us the purchase on top. You know, that's so much better. Yeah, this width is actually so much better. It's kind of ideal. Okay, so let's do that. And okay. Wait, are these all the same? These toilet paper rolls are not the same length. What? Or are they? Yeah, actually, it's just that I've added a lot of extra material on these guys. That's the problem, or the solution, however you want to look at it, and it's fine. The point is, she has 4 legs, okay? Okay, we want them bending. That's the main thing, is that they need to bend a certain place so that it looks like she's, you know, flying through the air. Make sure that they're bending. This one is a little broken leg. I think she broke it at one point. Now it's going to be the story as to why it's different than the other ones. In England, they would say different to, right? It's different to the others. Always sounds weird to an American ear because we tend to say it's different than the others or different from the others. They're British. The language came from the English Isles. They're probably right, but it just sounds weird. Okay, so here we're at the point where we're going to work on the ears real quick. And I think that you can do the ears by creating like a triangle, another triangle, and then each one of these can be an ear. Let's just play around with this and see what it looks like. Let's try on your ears, okay? Donna, what would it look like to have this as your ear? How should your ear look? Let me look at you. Kind of like the idea of your ears flying. Did say that we would glue your ears on later, but I feel like we could do them right now. That way you could start hearing tonight. How does that sound? And we can do that. I do like these triangle ears. I think the triangle ears are just fine. And what we could do is to get these two, I want to make sure that these are roughly the same size. Yeah, they're the same size triangles. Okay, so if we do that, yeah, I'm just going to lay these down as flat as we can on this part. And then grab one of these old markers that's so dry it doesn't work anymore. How does that seem? Well, I don't know. I kind of like the one that's on this side because it's just laying like that. It doesn't need to have that extra. And I think what makes it cute is it just kind of lays like that. Okay, so here's what the ears look like. You just want to accentuate that fold just a little. And add some of the healing waters. This is what it feels like to have ears in that spot. I feel like I should lift this up and add that here. Lift this side up and add it under here. Yes, that's what it feels like to have ears, don't it? How do you like that? I like it. Okay. Oh, I was going to add this clamp so that we have more defined eye holes, or like, yeah, eye sockets. I think it makes her look mad, but it's okay. She's pissed. She is pissed. I'm not so sure about the ears. Donna, I'll tell you this. You could have more pronounced ears if I weren't so tired right now. Go in and do a repair job at some point if we wanted to. Let me look at you. Yeah, one thing to remember is that with Cottonstone, there's this rite of creation and destruction. Then there's the rite of excavation, where we're going to remove everything that doesn't belong to the concrescence. And then there's the rite of embellishment. And the rite of embellishment could be a time to repair these ears or replace them. So it doesn't all come down to this moment. The Cottonstone is a very forgiving medium. And so I have to remind myself to not stress about things like this and give myself a break, because I'm really tired. And I don't think I'm making good decisions about poor Donna's ears right now. The rest of her looks really cute. I'm happy with how her body looks and everything, and the ears are cute. I mean, there's nothing wrong with them. It's just that I don't know if I'm a good judge of. I'm not a good judge of ears at this hour. It's late for me, and so I will just leave those alone for now, and I'm going to work on the tail. And the tail, I had something ready for the tail, and it's this thing right here. And my idea with the tail is to have 2 layers. I don't know if this is quite long enough. I think I want to have, yeah. My idea for the tail was to have something like this. And I can always cut some off if this ends up being too long. I'm going to do this, dunk these in the Cottonstone. And then, because everything should be in 2 layers, I was going to place 1 layer down, flatten it as best I can. Edges are curling up under here. Do the same thing here. And this is so that we can have the 2 layers sealed together for time and eternity. They will be indistinguishable from each other. They will be united as one. And because it's a little piggy tail, it can actually be folded 1 more time. And then we're going to go like this. Now this is too big of a tail. What the heck? It's too thick. Oh, I think I know what I can do. I think instead of folding it again, we should roll it. And it feels like it wants to roll in this direction. So I'm responding to that. So, how does this seem? Seem like a good use of a recycled bottle? Yeah, I like this. It's quite a deluxe tail. It's going to curl right back there. Yeah. So I'm not sure which is the end and which part will attach. I think this part will attach to the body. And then it'll just kind of curl all the way back. It's going to be really cute. It's definitely a deluxe tail for a deluxe pig. And that finishes what we need to do right now for our girl, Donna the unipig. And I'm going to cover her with plastic. I'm going to cover these parts with plastic so that they can cure properly. Dunk these legs again just for good measure. When I worked at Washington State University, one of my coworkers was a dear lady named Donna. She's passed on now, but I mean, I wasn't thinking of that Donna when I was naming this Donna. But when I think about Donnas I've known, she was a good Okay, that feels like a good spot to stop. And now I have some leftover material in here that I want to use up. There's quite a bit. Feels like a shame to let it go to waste. So I'm going to do a couple of experiments real quickly with some socks and some air pockets that I have. And this is for, I want to make things that you can display, that you can make like little display cases out of. So I'm going to grab a few air pockets and a few socks, and I'll be right back. These are socks that have served me well, but they've got holes in them lately, so I have a little pile of them because I know that I'm going to use them for this kind of project. And I've done some prototypes of these in the past, like what you see behind me. These look like, these are the kind of display items that I'm thinking of that I want to do. Only this time, during the leather phase tomorrow morning, I'm going to cut them open with scissors. I waited too long for these, so they ended up being encrusted, and I can open them up. I can use this one I left open on the end, but to open these I would need to use a saw. So to finish them, like this guy has an opening, so I can finish him. I did the rite of excavation, which is removing everything that doesn't belong. I took out one of these that was in here. So now I can do, this is the rite of embellishment. This is the last rite for this guy, unless I want to do more like decorating and painting and so on, which is can be part of the rite of embellishment. But the work isn't really considered finished in my view unless it has this step of getting another coat, final coat of the cement water, particularly on the inside. You don't have to do the outside again if you don't want to, but for reinforcement purposes, for quality purposes, I always do the inside because there may be some area that didn't get fully inundated with the cement water mixture during the rite of creation and destruction. And so this is an opportunity to correct that and just do general reinforcement. So this guy is now ready. He can sit and dry. I'm not going to do this tonight, but another thing I've been thinking about experimenting with is to do hang them by strings so that they don't have a flat side. So when these dried, they all got a flat side on them because I was laying them on the surface. So I think I could put a string and suspend them so that they're perfectly round. The word corpuscle came to mind. when I was thinking about these things. I was like, these are like corpuscles. So I have the idea that you could set up several of these together to make a kind of display. Now, last time I did these, I think I only did one layer. I don't think I did 2 layers of sock. And they're pretty sturdy. However, this does have a hole in it, so maybe I'll do 2 layers here. I'll just dunk this. First corpuscle, dunked in the primordial soup. And then I'm going to add the next layer on here. It's probably unnecessary to do 2 layers. This kind of like how it curves around here. I'm going to add another air pocket to this because I want to have it be really taut. Okay. Maybe even more than one more. Maybe a few more. Or maybe I'll just leave it at that because I'm feeling like I don't want it to look like a sock. This is the part that interests me because it looks like it's naturally occurring. It looks like it looks like something that you would see in a mud flat. A formation you would see in a mud flat. So I think I'm going to leave that like that. And tomorrow during the leather phase, when it's pliable, I'm going to cut this open and excavate the plastic from it. But for now, I do like the look of that right there. Maybe I'll make a couple more. I think I'm just going to make a couple single layer ones. There have been some clay sculptors in the last few years who have done things like this that have caught my attention. Biomorphic shelving, I guess you can say. And this is what I'm going for here with these corpuscles is some kind of biomorphic shelving or display units, like a way to, can you picture this, like shells that you collect at the beach, or little stones or little pieces of driftwood. You put them in one of these by itself, or maybe you have a little collection of these interesting looking shelving units, and you display things in a group using these. And I'm trying to like get the sock to really stretch here and take on maybe an unusual shape. What happens if I tie this like that? So I'm going to cut this part off. So I'm looking for ways to, make a living from cottonstone, and this could be a relatively easy or like fast way to make shelves or shelving units or display cases affordably and quickly that meet people's needs and provide a source of income for myself and for other cottonstone workers. And an interesting twist on that would be, what if it was made with your dad's sock? Would that make it more meaningful, particularly if your dad is passed on to the other side? I don't know, would you want his nasty sock as a shelving unit? Well, I'm going to test what the market says about that whole question. Cottonstone is like an unusual, it invites these kind of unusual relationships with objects that we may or may not preserve ordinarily. Like if your dad passes away, do you keep his socks? Do you feel bad about throwing them in the garbage? I would think that most people wouldn't donate their dad's socks to Goodwill or anything, because Goodwill or the like St. Vincent de Paul, Oddfellows, whatever thrift store of choice in your community, they don't usually take socks, used socks. So might this be a way, to preserve it in cottonstone and to even make what I think is an attractive biomorphic shelf or display case out of it? It seems kind of cool. I think that there could be something to this. Okay, so I'm giving it a try. It's harder than it looks to put a sock over a sock that has these air pockets on the inside. Okay, there we go. The reason I'm doubling them up is because I'm such a stickler for having 2 layers with all of my cottonstone works, minimum 2 layers. And so if there's a hole in it, of course, it drives me crazy. And I'm thinking, oh, I can't create a cottonstone work that has only 1 layer, even if it's only on a tiny spot. So that's why. That's why I'm doing this. Okay, so here's another one that's ready to lay out and shift these flying pig legs over here. Make room for this guy. I think that's enough for now. I'm not wasting that much material if I call it a night, because I've done all that I can do right now. And it's time to just throw a plastic sheet over the works that we did today and call it a night. Okay, so thank you for watching. Tomorrow I'm going to demold all of these things, and I'm just so excited to wake up to Donna tomorrow. And I always come and peek at my Cottonstone works. As soon as I wake up, I go and peek at them so that I can see, oh, how do you look today? How did you spend the night, your first night on Earth? I want to know. So I ask them, and they tell me, hey, it was great. I'm glad to be here. It was a good ride from the other dimension, etc. Okay, that's it. Thank you for watching. Bye.